Hello, John Talley here with Partzilla.com. Sitting behind me is a 2006 Kawasaki KLX110. Now today we're going to focus in on replacing and upgrading the clutch as well as the springs. It's really not that tough to do, just have to get a few things out of the way like the foot pegs, then get that outer cover pulled, then we can dive into the clutch itself. So if you're ready, we'll dive into this project. All right guys, this is just a quick overview of the parts I'm going to use. We're actually upgrading the fiber disc with EBC, and that's going to be paired with the EBC clutch springs as well. Now I doubt the metal plates are worn out. I just want them on hand should they show any signs that they've been overheated. Now the other thing you'll need will be a cover gasket as well as a quart of your favorite 4-stroke motorcycle oil. Now you will notice that I've got a brand new cover sitting on the bench. Now the reason for the covers, we're trying to, well, spruce up the unit a little bit as we go. And it turned out it was cheaper to buy a brand new one versus purchasing the paint to respray the old one. Well, now that we've got our parts assembled, let's walk over to the machine and knock this project out. So let's start by draining the oil, and you'll just need a 17mm socket for that. It's really easy to find, and you can see a cutout in the bash plate that's on the bottom. Big 17mm bolt, kind of hard to miss. You'll also notice that this oil looks practically new, which it is, because the person I bought this from had got it running, had been sitting up for several years, and just got it ready for sale. I told him he's kind of wasted his time because I'm the one that bought it, but you know, still. All right, well that's more than enough oil out of this thing. Let's go ahead and put our drain plug back in. Now do yourself a favor, go ahead and break out the torque wrench and let's set the torque on this. The magic number for this is 21 foot-pounds. Now next we're going to remove this front engine guard and then also the bolts holding the foot pegs as well as the bar, and it'll drop out as an assembly. Now bolts up front, they're just 8mm. Ones in the back are 12. Or we're going to take all 4 for the foot pegs. The plate is kind of sandwiched in. All right, next let's get our Kickstarter off. And that is just a 10mm. Now before we pull it off, I mean, it's basically sitting vertical, but if you want to make sure that you get it back in exactly the same position, we'll put a little mark on the end of that Kickstarter shaft. Off you go. Next, let's remove our 9 Phillips head screws that are holding the cover on. Now you want to make sure that you use a screwdriver that has a JIS tip on it. Otherwise, you're going to run the risk of stripping them out. Now I believe all of these are going to be equal lengths, but just in case they're not, I usually pick a corner and then go all the way around and then lay them out on the table in order. All right, let's see if we can get her to pop loose. Now there are a couple of different pressure points you can hit, but usually I can get them to release, just a little bit of tension and then hitting them just like that. And there it comes. Now the brake arm, just go ahead and loosen it up. And if it's really in your way, you can remove that spring. But for the most part, we can just hold it down and remove the cover. And we are in there. All right, next we need to remove this nut on the primary clutch. Now they of course make a special tool that goes in and holds it on these 3 pins or these 3 areas right here. What we're going to do is just pull off the spring set on the outside of the centrifugal clutch. And that's just held in by 3 circlips. That way we can get to the pins and then put in a bar, or in my case, a square pry bar. Hold 2 of those points, and that should be more than enough to break that center bolt loose. There we go. Nothing to it. Who needs a special tool? Now we can go ahead and take her off. I think we can go ahead and, since we've got the plate out of there, we can go ahead and remove the primary clutch, at least have it out of the way where it's not going to fall. All right, now we can remove the main bolt for the secondary clutch, and then they'll come off as a pair. To hold it still, we can actually put in a piece of aluminum. In my case, I'm going to use a piece of copper, a copper washer, and we're going to put it up in between the gears and let it draw it up, and that'll hold it still where we can break it loose. All right, I felt you give. Go ahead. There you go. Now, when we go to put it back on, we just put it on the opposite side, and that'll give us something to pull against when we go to torque it. Now, let's go ahead and pull that the rest of the way out. Now let's go ahead and bring her out. There we go. Okay guys, just to show you what I was up to back there. Of course, this is from the bottom side. All I was doing was using this brass washer and putting it where the teeth would grab it. That's what I'll be doing when we go to put it back together. Just to make sure you're using either aluminum or brass, otherwise you're going to damage your teeth. Now let's go ahead and pull our clutch apart and get those new plates installed, as well as the springs. And these are all held in by just 8mm bolts. Tell you what, while we're still pulling this apart, we need to let these soak for a little bit. Since that oil looks so good, we'll just throw them in there. Alright, our old springs, I'll be curious to see or feel the difference in between these. Out you come. Oh, that looks really good. Very little chatter marks on it at all. Yeah, I think somebody's been in here. Looks too fresh. Yeah, the metal plates look, it all looks fine. So everything we took out, the original Kawasaki stuff, it all looked good, and I'm sure it could have lasted a whole lot longer. We're just going to upgrade a little bit, because with the EBC, we're going to get a little bit more clamping force and a little bit more grab with the EBC plates versus the OEM Kawasaki. All right guys, so let's go ahead and start building up our clutch. It's really close to what the factory setup was. All we're going to do is just alternate the fiber disc with the metal one. Now on the factory setup, you would rotate this last one over or offset it. But on the EBC setup, it doesn't fit. The tolerances are so close on the tangs here that it doesn't allow you to do that. So you just put it in line with the other ones, like so. Next, what you need to do is go ahead and align these pins together. Just use a pick tool just to get it close where the hub can go all the way down into that back plate. Just get those all just line up like that. Now, to make sure you've got it, go ahead and bring this in. Now, we're going to show you a little trick here. If you try to put the springs in there, the plate's too far back and it can't grab it. So what we're going to do is take off our clutch basket. Now, we're going to just start just a couple of our bolts. It's a lot easier to do it like this with our inner plate. but don't tighten them down. So now you can push against the springs, no big deal to get it started. Now you can just use a couple of longer bolts to get it started and then bring in the other ones. But if you don't have a longer bolt with this same thread, this is a workaround for that. And I'm only putting a couple of turns on these. Now here's the next little trick. We want to bring it back into the clutch basket like that. Before you tighten this down, do yourself a favor. Go ahead and bring it up on the machine and go ahead and get it to go onto the shaft. Now at this point, just bring them in a little bit more to where there's some tension on it. Because what we're doing here is aligning the clutch pack with the basket and then also aligning that with your transmission input shaft, if you want to call it that. Because I've run into previous machines to where you build it all up here and then it doesn't want to line up. So this will give it a better chance of being centered correctly when we go to bring up both the secondary and the primary up together. I mean, there's just a lot going on. And if it isn't aligned just right, it's not going to go on. All right, now we can bring that back down. Go ahead and bottom these out, and then we're going to torque them to 44 inch-pounds. And don't forget this. We'll pop it back there. Now I do have the machine in gear. That way I have something to turn against when we go to reinstall this. The way I came up with this system is if you've ever replaced a clutch disc on a car, they've got an alignment pin that goes into the back of the crankshaft. And you've just got the clutch up there loosely, or the clutch pressure plate. And you get that aligned, then you start tightening those down. Because if you just throw that plate up on the plate, or if you just throw that disc up on the pressure plate, good luck. So that's kind of where I drew this from, because I've spent my fair time under the belly of a car with a transmission on my chest trying to install it. In my younger years anyway. That's why you have kids. Now I get him to do it. Basically just bringing the plate all the way down, just using 2 of the bolts. There we go. Now we can run these down just by hand, just with your fingers. Now on your original A1 KLX 110s, they asked for a torque of 30 inch-pounds. This is an A6, but it's actually the A2 and up that they want 44 inch-pounds. All right, my regular torque wrench, it doesn't go down that far. So we're gonna grab an analog one that can go that far down. And we want to do this in a crisscross pattern. Now, one more thing I want to point out. If by chance, when you were taking out the primary clutch and that center piece or that center part actually drops out, the way you get it back in, you can't do it out here. What you need to do is put it on about halfway. Make sure this wear edge is facing out. Get it started on the splines and then rotate this, the rear part of the housing, counterclockwise, and she'll pop in. Otherwise, good luck. So we've got our clutch basket torqued down. We've got our sleeve in place. Let's go ahead and bring them up. We just want to loosely keep them together about like this, and then work our way on. So she's in gear and we're going counterclockwise, and you may have to rock the clutch basket or the stack a little bit before it finds the right spline. There we go. Because remember, you're lining up 2 splines, one over here and one over there. I'm fighting the compression of the engine a little bit here. There we go. Don't lose your bearing. There we go. Now she's in. Fun, huh? Now at this point, we can go ahead and bring in both of our retention nuts. We can get our primary clutch put back together. Now we're going to be taking both of these nuts to 53 foot-pounds. First one, we'll use our bar. We're just using these two pins to hold it still. All right, and to hold that guy still, we're going to use our washer again from the top this time. Now let's finish putting together our primary clutch. All right, we still have our wear pattern that's facing the spring, facing out. There we go. Now here's where it can get a little funny, trying to hold all that tension in. Let's see if we've got enough finger power here to hold this back and get that started. There we go. Yeah, we want the opening to point toward the outside where that protrusion is. There we go. And now, put in this inner bushing bearing. Now we get our release cam in place and its associated bearing. This is what I would call a shift fork. Now the trick is this all just kind of has to hang out there. I think what we're going to do is put a little grease on either side just to hold it in place. So otherwise it could drop down when we put the outer case on. I just want to make sure it's some type of assembly grease. I mean, I wouldn't use grease like you would use inside of a CVT clutch or something like that. I think that would be a mistake. Just for fun, we'll put a little on the back side too. And that should all stick together now, or long enough to get the outer case back on. There. All right, guys, I told you in the beginning of the video that I was going to replace the case, and I still am. But me, just like everybody else, if the manufacturer is back ordered on a part, in this case, it happens to be the seal right here for the Kickstarter, I'm having to wait a little while. So for the time being, I'm just going to put the old cover back on, which I'm sure you probably are as well. So the installation procedure will be the same, although I'm just reinstalling the one that came off along with its old gasket. Now, if you were reinstalling yours, go ahead and replace the gasket as well. All right, the hard part's over. All we need to do is get back in our 9 mounting screws, or bolts, if you will, although they're Phillips. Ooh, I missed one little thing though. There is a drain tube holder right up here. Now, Kawasaki does give a torque value of 5.2 Newton meters, which is 46 inch-pounds, and they want you to just do it in a crisscross pattern going around. I think just tighten it down and you'll be fine. But if you want to get them torqued, that's what you would set it to. Now, chances are that you're going to need to readjust your clutch. So we want to break loose that lock nut and bring it in till it's hard to turn, and then back it out a quarter of a turn and recinch the lock nut. A few things I need to point out. At this point, go ahead and fill yours back up with oil. You want to get in between these two marks. There's your high, there's your low. I usually go for about 2/3 of the way up. After that, all I need to do is remount the Kickstarter, the foot pegs, as well as that engine guard, and that's going to wrap it up. Now, since I'm still going to go back and replace my outer cover, I'm not going to do that just yet. But that's really simple to do. You just have those 4 12mm bolts, those couple of 8mm up front, and then you're going to be done. Well, all right, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. Now, listen, if you need these or any other parts for your machine, why don't you come see us at Partzilla.com and we can get you taken care of. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the section below and I'll do my best to answer them. And hey, if you like what you see, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button or that notification bell. That way you'll know and be notified of whatever I'm working on next. We just want to say thank you for shopping here with us at Partzilla, and we will see you in the next video. Y'all have a great day.